Cindy McLeish, member for Eildon, but also the Shadow Minister for Sport. Thanks for joining us again on Flow.
Pleasure to be with you, Ricky.
Yes, we talked briefly about the earthquake when it happened last week. Appreciate your input on that. But here on the policy front, we've got some important things the opposition has to say about helping community sport out of regional recovery with the lockdowns.
Look, community sport, grassroots sport, which is so important for so many children, for so many families and so many communities, has just taken a real hit. Look, no one has been able to play. And, now they've said you can train, but you can't have competition. But when things do settle down, it's hard for clubs to get back on their feet and pick up exactly from where they were, because we've seen a number of things. We've seen kids drop out of sport. We've seen, and earlier this year, when sport started to come back, we saw less teams being entered by clubs, and we saw less volunteers as well. So there's quite a lot that needs to be done to get clubs back on board. Now, on top of all of that, a lot of them have had ongoing expenses. And if you look at gymnastics clubs, they always have to hire halls and things. They always have to hire their spaces and store their stuff. So all of these clubs have ongoing costs. A lot of them might have got rid of their food, but they've still got rent agreements. They might have power and so many different things. Their equipment's not maintained and it might be shabby. Their nets might have holes in them. So we're actually calling on the government to provide a kickstart and make funds available for clubs to apply for so that they can get back on their 2 feet.
Yeah. Now, what's the dollars, speaking of costs, that you're putting forward as your policy proposition from the opposition?
Oh, look, certainly $10 million at the start to get clubs to apply for what it is that they need. And they may need a variety of things. They may need some infrastructure. They may need to fix and maintain things. They might need to promote. They might need to have come and try days, things like that, to help get people back to their clubs. So there's a whole variety of things. So we just want to see some funding made available so that these clubs can really get a kickstart.
And when this proposition, there's not an election for a little while now. I think it's next November. So it's really something you'd be hoping the Andrews government just mirrors that announcement or goes one better, I suppose, if it happens.
Absolutely. There's no reason why they can't do that now. They put less into the sport budget over the last couple of years than previously, and admittedly that they've put money in other areas that, business support, perhaps not enough. But, I think for certainly $10 million to help out our grassroots sports, we have some 16,000 clubs and organisations and leagues and all of that, in Victoria. That's the numbers the Minister quotes that really could do with some assistance.
With this fund, you've got it as just generally for community sport. The state government seems to like this kind of bespoke arrangement where, like your gymnastics example, they'll run a gymnastics club fund and then they'll run a cricket club fund. What's the opposition's view on that? Should these just be simply based on which club has the most merit and not doing specific sector-by-sector grant programs?
Look, I think you can argue the toss both ways for that, because on one hand, you can make sure that the gymnastics clubs or the shooting clubs do get funding and they're not left behind if they're in the big pool with all of the larger soccer and netball, football clubs, that they could be left behind. So it is one way of making sure that they do get something, but then also not all of them need things. So depending, there will be needs. So I think it's something that we need to have a closer look at.
Yeah, well, Cindy McLeish, hopefully we see an announcement from the government to help these sporting clubs out. And thanks for speaking with us again on Flow about it.
No problem, Ricky. Thank you.